Hi, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the TreeTopChat. This is actually the 19th episode in a row, which is quite crazy to believe, to be honest. Last week we spoke to Andreas Lindberg, also known as Kanon Idea, on Instagram, and we had some very good conversations about his interests, his various jobs, and his hobbies. And we even got to hear about how he blew up a garage here in Stockholm once. So if you missed that episode, you need to check that out on our YouTube channel. Well, today we just got the very nice Extrema from Courant. It's a very static rope, 11 mil, that we will put up in the weekend. So what far we for the world? Anything between our next door neighbors here in Stockholm to Ontario in Canada, Peter DeVries. And today we had another international guest to the TreeTopChat roaster, and this time it's all the way from India. So today we were speaking to Jonas, who's an arborist who lives and works in India. He's a large contributor to building the arbor industry in India, and the job he's doing is truly great. So if you have any questions for Jonas throughout this transmission, please feel free to drop them anytime below. So, Ajay Jonas, Sundja, how are you?
Very good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. So, what is it? 9 o'clock in the evening?
That's right. Yeah. Just had dinner. Just having a nice, relaxed time now.
Nice, nice. So, you've been working all day today?
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, it was a fairly easy day today. We kind of just had a couple of loose ends to finish the week. So just got that wrapped up. So it was actually a short day for all of us.
Okay.
Which is nice at the end of the week when everyone's tired.
Yeah, exactly. So, you're going to be resting over the weekend?
Yeah, definitely.
Sounds good.
Yeah, I think rest is super important, especially in our line of work. Yeah.
Absolutely. You don't have to work tired, do you? So
No.
let's get into the talking points we have here today. Tell us a little bit about how you became an arborist. What did that journey look like for you?
Yeah, it's I guess fairly different to most because I actually grew up in India, and then I moved to Berlin for a year. I was after finishing high school, I kind of decided, okay, I want to go have a look in Germany and Europe and have a different experience. And I wasn't planning to study, but then I had a job in a bakery in Berlin and hated it, and so I decided, okay, maybe university is not that bad, and decided to study economics.
Okay.
And so I actually have a master's degree in economics, which I have not really used much apart from, well, it's useful when you're running your own business. So after graduating and moving back to India, I joined Treecare, which was being run by Anadi and Julian. They're one of the two founding members, and so actually 2 weeks after I got back, they immediately said, "Why don't you join us?" And initially, I was a bit hesitant. I was like, "Well, I just got masters in economics. How does that really apply? Is it useful?" And and then I gave it a go and had one climb the tree and never looked back.
Cool. And how long
Loved it
ago
ever
was that?
since.
So it's been a couple
That
of
was
years.
2014.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So you call
It's been 6 years.
yourself an other arborist, kind of, the industrial athletes. Can you explain a
Yeah,
little bit what that means?
yeah. So I think we've been playing around with different terms in India because no matter who you ask, nobody has ever heard of the term arborist. They don't know what that is, what we
No.
do. So therefore, we also, say we call ourselves tree surgeons. And then I really like the term industrial athlete because I think it really highlights the importance of um, really focusing on getting your body in the best condition possible, the same way an athlete does, and just get your skill level to your absolute peak. So it's really striving for that perfection. And in our industry, where risk is something we have to deal with and manage on a daily basis, I think that kind of striving towards that level of perfection is the only smart way to go about it. It's not, it's not something to take for granted, and so to really consider yourself a professional athlete that, well, is doing tree work rather than playing some football or something else.
Yeah. Stay in shape, huh?
Stay in shape,
So,
eat healthy, sleep enough. All of these things. It's not only about the body. It's also about the mind and keeping things clear, and that's how you can stay safe.
yeah,
That's our philosophy.
yeah, I agree. There's a lot of parameters in there to, make the right decisions, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like thousands of little decisions that you're making all the time while you're in a tree, suspended by a little 11 millimeter rope with dangerous tools, and still there's so many factors that we cannot even comprehend. So there's still so much. Uh, there is an inherent risk no matter what you do. So that's also where we started to say it's important to not push your limits too far, where your mind or body gets fatigued and you start making mistakes.
Very cool.
So with the heat that we have to deal with in India, we generally don't work more than 6 hour days. And there are times where we have big contracts that have to get done, and you make an exception, but it's not day to day. We don't have 8 to 10 hour work days, which is fairly common in most other parts when I've been traveling and seeing that. So that we are able to really keep that going and say, look, we'll come back tomorrow. We'll finish the job tomorrow. There's no, it's not worth it to take any risks
Wise,
when you.
wise decisions. So you also had a TED talk quite recently. Can you give us a brief, overview on that for anyone who hasn't seen it?
Yeah. So the idea of the TED talk was, the overall theme of that TED talk was level up. So they invited me to speak on leveling up in our field, in our industry. So I wanted to talk about leveling up the trees. How can we ensure that we're able to live in a symbiotic relationship with trees in our urban environment? And because yeah, we've put trees in an unnatural environment, and so of course they require more care, more help from us to be able to grow, properly and safely, and also, of course, um, kinds of targets. It's super important to do that.
Yeah,
So the TED Talk was, yeah, mainly about the importance of trees and the importance of managing these trees as though they're assets. They're really an integral part of any good society or city. So we should value them just the same way we value streets and roads that don't have potholes. We should value our trees even more, in my opinion, than that. But yeah, we should really consider them as a valuable asset to society.
nice. Very, very sound. So, if we go back, we kind of touched on this in the beginning, but what made you want to decide to focus on the Indian arborist industry?
Um, well, I would say definitely the most important part is that We were born and grew up in India, so that's home for us. And then we saw this opportunity to do something different, something extraordinary, where we can introduce something, we can introduce arboriculture to an entire nation, to that has a population of 1.3 billion people. I mean, it's incredible that India, with its rich history and heritage, and the incredible wildlife that we have here, but this industry has never developed. And so I've noticed that there is this kind of lack of importance put on safety generally in India, in across the board, whether it's driving without driving motorcycle without helmets or without seatbelts. As the roads have been getting better, more and more people are starting to use seatbelts, but it's it's somehow ingrained in the culture that no worries, we'll cross the street, everything's gonna be fine. And
Yeah.
that's the same in the construction industry, where people don't have hard hats, no shoes, shorts and flip flops, and that's the way to go. And
Yeah.
that's in we see that in all industries, and so we're trying to focus on pushing that safety, and seeing, look, there is real value in human life. We can't just move on like nothing happened,
Mm.
and say that's acceptable when we clearly have alternatives. If there are no alternatives, we say, okay, that's part of the risk you have to take it. Then it's your choice whether you want to do that job or not. But if you do have the choice to work safely, I just don't find it acceptable to
All right.
to
I agree.
continue. Yeah,
So how do you see the Indian arborist industry differs from other places in the world? Except the security issues that we just talked
yeah,
about.
yeah. Um, it's a bit difficult for me to compare because I haven't worked all that much in other countries. But I would say uh, there is also one thing which I also really focused on in the TED talk, and which I believe is different here, is that there's this uh, notion or idea that we have to choose between development or greenery. We can't have both. So there is this thing of, okay, we need to develop, we need to grow, we need to catch up with the rest of the developed world. So yeah, we have to build, we have to make cities, we have to, and well, the trees are in the way, so we have to get rid of them and build cities instead.
Mm.
Um, but I want to really focus on getting in there early and saying no. With the proper planning, you can have both. You can have a symbiotic relationship where trees can thrive and humans can thrive. Actually, all the more because the trees are just benefiting us and making life in cities so much better.
Mm.
So we see examples where it has been a success, like Singapore, which actually, if you look at it from the time frame, it's an incredible transformation in such a short period of time, where they've just been saying no. We're looking at it in a different way. The garden city, the trees, the greenery, they are the reason why business comes here in the first place. That's actually why we will thrive. So using that as a incentive rather than a hindrance, rather than an obstacle we have to overcome. Yeah, it's we have to really just see it as an asset.
I agree. Yeah, yeah. Urban cities and tend to have more trees. I know Singapore, as you mentioned, is a very green city. In China, they're planting a lot of trees in the cities
Yeah,
as well. So I think that's a very
exactly.
good thing. And
Yeah, and
it
then
help
and then
help
with
with the
creative,
pollution as well.
yeah, exactly. And then there's creative architects that start making green walls, or the what's the name of the towers in Milan that have the trees growing on the towers. And so there are ways, there are, making it
Yeah,
cool and futuristic, but yet
yeah,
having that link back to nature, back to forest, back to where we came from,
yeah,
really.
exactly. Yeah. I
Yeah.
think, it's probably more common in Asia because a lot of the cities in Asia I've been to, there's a lot of trees in the cities, Singapore, Kuala Lumpur, Beijing, Shanghai. There's
Yeah.
still a lot of trees there, even though, it's metropolitan cities and a lot of skyscrapers and stuff, but still very green. So, I suppose, the fauna in India is quite different from, what we have here in northern parts of Europe. But, what kind of trees are you working in India?
Yeah, there's an insane amount of different species we have here. So I'm not going to go into any details there, from ficuses to, but how I like to compare is that we have, the vast majority of the trees here are decurrent trees. So they're not all that tall, but they spread out super far, like banyan trees.
Mm,
So if you're in a old big banyan tree, it's incredible. You don't feel like you're in one tree. It's a forest that originates from one mother
similarity.
plant. So they put out the vertical roots and actually never stop growing. They just keep expanding outwards, and these roots turn into full trees on their own and can survive on their own, even if the mother part has already died off again.
Oh, really?
So yeah, there's some incredible species out there, and so I believe also the climbing style differs because of that. So we have to think a lot more about moving horizontally, moving outwards, and not being able to have a proper anchor point from which you can
Okay.
access the whole tree. That's actually pretty rare for us that we have that optimal, top tie-in point where from which you can access the entire tree. So we have to often kind of break it down in sections and say, okay, we're going to do that part with that anchor point, then move on and redirect. And that's actually where when we discovered SRT, we never looked back, because just for that reason alone, where
Mm,
you're going through so many um, branches and crotches and redirects that it would be impossible to put in on a proper DDRT system.
really
So
good.
you'd have to take out your system, reinstall, take it out, reinstall, which none of us like doing. Yeah.
Okay. Now, what we're talking
So
about,
yeah, with SRT,
equipment.
you can just keep moving outwards. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, cool, cool. So we're talking a little bit about, equipment here, and we have sometimes seen that you have had some problems getting, your gear shipped to you, and once we even had, a bit of a rat attack. Tell us a little bit what
Yeah,
happened.
right.
What?
Yeah, so gear has been one of the major challenges for us, definitely. So we've been doing a lot of research in trying to see if we can source anything locally. Big challenge there being there are no specific ropes that have been designed for tree work naturally, because there is no industry, so there's no demand for it. Um, and so what we initially were doing was, every time I went to visit, because I've got family in Germany as well. So every time I went to visit family, I would not take. I would come with just hand luggage, come back with
Yeah.
2 suitcases full of equipment. Got a lot of equipment donated, and some secondhand gear, and yeah, because also there is the cost. It's not only about access,
No.
but the what we are able to charge here versus the paying in dollars and earning in Indian rupees, that's a challenge on its own.
Yeah.
So we were very fortunate to have a lot of support, um, in large thanks to Instagram, and then I would traveled and went to a lot of the European tree climbing championships. I went to the Augsburg Treecare days, and so you know have have been finding creative ways to source gear over the years. And then the last year and a half, I've also been really fortunate to be supported by some amazing gear manufacturers that where I'm either an ambassador or just getting sponsored. So that's amazing for us. That
Cool.
has really opened new doors where initially we were kind of sharing one or two climbing ropes between all of us and sharing harnesses, sharing helmets. Initially, when I started, we had one helmet between all of us. So it'd be like,
Wow.
let's rock paper scissors. Who gets the helmet? So that has been really incredible. The transformation over the last year and a half, where we're able to equip ourselves properly, and you also notice then how important good gear is. Um, Not only are you able to do the work more efficiently and safer, but it really takes the edge off on the mind game. Because if you don't know if you can trust your gear, you're
Yeah.
always second guessing. You're already in a tree where you're not so sure. You're already second guessing. If then you're not 100% sure your gear is fine, because what we were doing is we didn't have rigging ropes, so we were just using recycling our old climbing ropes as rigging ropes. So yeah, you don't know if that's not good enough to climb on. Well, I don't know if it's gonna hold that big
Exactly.
rig. So yeah, that has been incredible, where you can just put your mind at ease and say, yes, this is dedicated equipment designed to take this kind of impact. No worries. So that's really been amazing for us.
Interesting. So, what about the rat attack?
The rat attack, yes, that was an ordeal. So we got a shipment from Notch, and it was a huge mess up from FedEx essentially. They it and India in general is notoriously difficult to import. It's super easy to export. They'll pretty much come to your house and be like, yeah, yeah, I'll take it off you. We want to export, but import, they're not keen. So a lot of import duties. Our first experience with that was two years prior, and we had done a big shipment from Edelrid, where we were thinking of becoming dealers, and so we had invested and gotten a whole shipment, which then was stuck in customs, and it was a nightmare to get it out. And so as things happen, the same thing happened with the Notch shipment. They didn't accept the invoice and said, "Nah, this can't be. It can't be that you guys are not, buying this. Clearly, this is for profit." And they didn't believe us that it was a sponsorship, or that it was for testing purposes, or
Okay.
so then we had to get new invoice made and blah blah. It was a whole ordeal.
Wow.
And in that time, they had put all our stuff in one of their warehouses, which were rat infested. So two months, or I think it was 2 months, stuck in the customs
Hmm.
until we finally managed to get it out. And then the package arrives in incredibly bad shape, and then I already saw in two corners nice bitten holes. Oh, that was frustrating.
Mm.
I think I had 107 emails with FedEx just for that for that shipment.
Well,
So yeah, and they would refuse to give you a number to call. So all we could do was email and hope for the best. And then the worst part is they charge you for for storing. So for the 2 months, they're like, yeah, that's your fault. So it's
come on.
late fees and storing charges. Like, are you kidding me? Yeah.
So
So that was
what happened? The rats were eating on the ropes and the equipment, or
yep. They got the climbing spurs good. They love the padding. They love the padding of the climbing spurs. Then a couple of rigging slings. We had some X rings which were spliced with some whoopee slings and stuff, which were eaten. But in the end, we were quite lucky. It was I think maybe 5-10% that was damaged, that was not
okay.
usable. And I'm climbing on the spurs now. It's fine. The padding is a bit eaten, but it's totally fine. But all the X ring stuff, I was like, yeah, no, I'm not gonna risk it. No chance. Even if it's just a couple of fibers, I didn't know. Also, with who knows if the rats were pissing on it and all, there might be some chemical reaction that I don't know about. I was like, yeah, putting that aside. Uh,
Well, well, we should be happy that they were not eating on the X rings because those rats I wouldn't want to see.
Some mutant X ring rats.
Yeah, exactly. But to be honest, I've seen some rats in India. I was there 97,
Okay,
and
nice.
I saw some rats at the hotel, and they were more like cats actually.
Yeah, those are bandicoots, we call them. They're not actually. They're incredibly. Yeah, they're massive. They're real big.
Like,
Yeah.
oh wow, yeah, crazy. So the next question is really what is your best tip for anybody who wants to start working with tree care in a country such as India?
Whew. Yeah, that's a good question. I think first I would focus on um, getting yourself as high quality as you can. So really setting yourself apart from any so-called competition. So that's also what we did. We focused on training and getting a team that we know we can take on any job that comes confidently, where we can say, yeah, we can do this safely and faster than the competition can. Um, and then I would say try to carve out your niche. Figure out who is the most likely person to employ you, whether it is the cities, whether it is big corporations, or maybe rich private clients.
Mm,
So in our case in India, we felt the biggest demand coming from um, biggest demand coming from big corporations because they have a reputation to uphold. They want to compete with other big companies all over the world. They want to do business with them,
yeah,
and having people in getting injured or dying on your factory premises is not acceptable.
yeah,
Even if it's acceptable within India, but if you're doing business internationally with other, reputable companies, they're not going to be happy about that. So we found that they're very very willing and happy to pay us more for our level of professionality and safety. So yeah, I think that would be my tip, really, to figure out who is going to hire you, and then focus on that. Start small, get reliable clientele that you get your fixed income, and then you can think about how can we expand, how can we reach more people? How can we? But first, really get your bases covered. So you can pay all your employees, you can get the ball rolling, and then figure out how to expand. I think at the beginning we were a bit naive and a bit too excited and said, "Look, no worries, we're going to start opening offices in different cities and we're going to grow really fast." And then you realize, wait, nobody has even heard about an arborist. Wait, who's
Mm.
going to hire us?
Okay.
So then we
Right.
realized that education is actually what we need to focus on.
Yeah.
So that's when we started saying, okay, we need to get into training as well and teaching and the climbing school.
Nice. So I suppose the incident you had with the custom is not your funniest on the job story, but give us an insight to your funniest on the job story.
um. All right. Let me think. There was this was actually pretty much maybe a year or two after I started, so quite a while ago, and we had just hired a new young person who wanted to be a groundie with us, and on his second day on the site or something, I was in the tree and I just set up a rigging point and had brought down the rope so he can send up a chainsaw for me. And there was a sling attached at the end of the rope. And as it was down there, suddenly I could see his eyes light up, and he was like, "Dude, I just had such a good idea. I can step into the sling and I can pull myself up." And then I was like, "No, that's not a good idea." He's like, "No, no, it's a great idea." And he did it and pulled himself only to boom fall straight on his back. uh, yeah,
Wow.
I guess I don't need to say that he didn't last all that long. I think he was with us for 2 weeks.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, I know that you hold courses too. So tell us a little bit about those, and what are you doing? Who are your typical pupils that you teach?
So we offer um, standalone climbing courses as well as kind of an internship program. So I think actually the internship programs have been more successful in the sense that we've had people from Germany, from actually all over the world requesting, could we come and work with you guys and learn from you guys? Trying to combine an amazing world trip with learning a new skill, and also young individuals from different parts of India. So that has been pretty successful, and I think we want to continue down that road. We just accepted two new apprentices, so that's cool. And then the standalone courses, we've had quite a few as well, but it's still it's still in its infancy stages in the sense that India is so vast, so big that travel is a major problem for us. I
Yeah.
mean, from not only for the training, also for us doing the work. So it's not unusual for us to, quote a job where say 40% of the total cost is our travel, hotel, food,
Yeah.
all those expenses, which is kind of sad. Which is like it's a pity. I feel like, but then that's the only way if you want to service such a large country. Yeah, and then coming to the climbing courses, so I get a lot of calls from people all over the country, who then say, "Oh, we have to come down to see you guys there and do the course there." Yeah, it's difficult. And then, of course, financially, it's also a challenge because most people that are interested um, are not, let's say, from wealthy backgrounds. So usually those that have rich parents, the parents make sure they either go IT, engineering, one of these jobs that's definitely gonna secure their future, especially where the aim is let's go try and work in the US or England or
Uh,
abroad. Like that's always the number one mission.
uh,
Get out of the country. First things first. And we're doing the opposite. How to
uh,
get into the country.
that's
Yeah.
good.
So
That's good.
so the climbing courses, I think we're doing a bit of a switch where we're trying to focus again on corporations.
Okay.
So there are, some large corporations like in the coffee industry, for example,
Mm,
where the coffee plantations, they're kind of like shrub trees, small trees, and they require semi shade.
mm,
So the entire plantations are full of silver oak trees, and so they grow super straight, tall, and they're constantly pruned where it's pretty much a pole with a bit of foliage.
okay.
Yeah, terrible for the tree, but it's doing the job for the crop. That's
Uh,
their main idea behind it, right?
exactly.
So they employ. So one of the people that called us, where we went and gave a demonstration of how we would climb and do the work safely. They employ about 900, between 800 and 1,000 climbers a year.
Wow.
They've got, I think, about, was it 1.5 million trees to prune every year.
Wow. That's
It's
quite a
like
lot.
unrealistically a lot, yeah.
Yeah.
And access is not an option for work platforms for bucket lifts and stuff because it's all on the slopes. It's all in the mountains. Um, and there we had some very good feedback where we had a meeting with the all the managers of all the different plantations as well as some of the climbers that actually do the work. And so Andy, my colleague, he went up and I was on the ground explaining step by step what he's doing. Okay, he's installing his top anchor point. Now he's ascending, then he's installing his rigging, etc., etc. And and the managers were really impressed. They when he came down, they were like clapping, amazing, this is what we need, fantastic. And then one of the managers looked at the climbers and said, "What do you guys think? Is this something you want to learn?" And initially they were hesitant. They said, we get paid by per tree, so I think this is going to slow us down, so I don't think we're gonna be able to do this, even if it's safer, but we have mouths to feed. We
Mm,
can't work slower. So they said this tree that they did, yeah, we can do it easily. It's not a difficult tree. So then the manager said, okay, how about choose a tree that is difficult? Choose a tree that you guys cannot do. So they picked out the tallest tree with no branches, and we threw in, got up, and were able to prune four other trees from that one anchor point. And when they saw that, they were well impressed. They were like, okay, yeah,
yeah.
this is much faster. You don't
Yeah,
have
I
to
can
go and
imagine.
climb each individual tree. You can jump from tree to tree. Yeah, that's cool. We want to do that. So hopefully in September or October, there might be a larger number of people that we're going to train in the coffee plantations. That would be amazing.
Yeah, that's good because makes the work lot safer as well.
Exactly.
So now we're talking about climbing. So what is your favorite piece of equipment of all time and why?
Hmm. I would, just off the top of my head, I would just say the rope runner.
The rope runner.
It's from the day I started using it, I've loved it, and uh, climbed with it on the Red Bull branched out in Australia, and it's such a smooth, compact design. I really love it. Have not had the chance to try out the new one, the Pro, but I'm super happy with the original runner as well. So
yeah, the Pro is going to be CE certified here in Europe in October.
that's what's really exciting. Yeah, exactly. Even better with a bird flap. Yeah, thank you for that one. I use it every day. Just reading in the comments.
Cool. So, is there any questions from the audience?
From my side, or does the audience have some questions for us?
No, I think that means that we must have covered everything, huh?
I think so. Yeah.
Cool. So, sorry? Do you have any questions?
Not really, not off the top of my head, no.
Well, it's getting late as well, so okay, I think we'll call it a day there. So thank you very much, Jonas, for joining us all the way from India. It's been a pleasure to hear you provide some very valuable insights to the industry. The great job you're doing over there. We really appreciate it. As usual, thank you to everybody that tuned in. Or anybody who watched this on afterwards on YouTube or Instagram. Next week we will be speaking to Victoria Castens, who I think that will be a great conversation as well. So I think we're going to call it the weekend there for everybody, and have a very nice evening, everybody. And Jonas, thank you again.
Thank you for having me, and thanks everyone who's tuned in.
It was a pleasure.
Wish everyone a happy weekend.
Take care.
All the best.
See you.
Take care and climb safe, guys.
Bye.